Some movies don't just tell a story, they haunt you. When The Searchers hit theaters in 1956, it looked like a classic Western, open landscapes, a legendary hero, and a journey across the frontier. But beneath that surface was something far darker. This wasn't a movie about adventure. It was about obsession, hatred, and a man who might be lost long before the search ever ends. Today, we're uncovering 20 hidden facts behind The Searchers, the history, the symbolism, and the uncomfortable truths that transformed this Western into one of the most powerful films ever made. Let's begin. Fact number 1, this wasn't just a Western, it was John Ford's darkest movie. On the surface, The Searchers looks like a classic John Ford Western, wide landscapes, heroic imagery, and John Wayne riding across Monument Valley. But underneath that familiar look is something far darker than most audiences expected in 1956. John Ford wasn't trying to make another feel-good frontier story. He was making a film about obsession, hatred, and the emotional damage caused by racism and violence. Ford once hinted that The Searchers was about a man who couldn't belong anywhere anymore, and that theme runs through every scene. At a time when Westerns usually celebrated clear-cut heroes, Ford gave audiences a deeply flawed protagonist, and many viewers weren't ready for it. Fact number 2, Ethan Edwards is one of cinema's most uncomfortable heroes. John Wayne had played heroes for decades, but Ethan Edwards is something else entirely. He's brave, capable, and fearless, but he's also openly racist, emotionally closed off, and driven by vengeance. What makes Ethan so unsettling is that the film never fully excuses his behavior. Ford lets the audience admire Ethan's strength while simultaneously forcing them to confront his ugliness. In the 1950s, this kind of morally gray lead character was extremely rare, especially in a Western. Today, Ethan Edwards is often studied in film schools as one of the earliest examples of an anti-hero in American cinema. Fact number 3, the film is loosely based on a real historical tragedy. The story of The Searchers was inspired by the real-life kidnapping of Cynthia and Parker, a young girl taken by the Comanche in 1836. She was raised by the tribe and later became the mother of Quanah Parker, one of the most famous Comanche leaders in history. When Cynthia was eventually rescued, she struggled to reintegrate into white society and mourned the loss of her Comanche family. The movie borrows heavily from this idea, especially the question of whether rescue is always what the rescued person actually wants. Fact number 4, Debbie's fate was meant to be much darker. Early drafts of the script strongly implied that Debbie would be killed by Ethan once he found her. The idea was that Ethan, unable to accept her life among the Comanche, would see her as lost forever. This would have made the film shockingly bleak for its time. Studio pressure eventually forced a softer ending, but Ford kept the tension alive by making the audience believe right up until the last moment that Ethan might still kill her. That uncertainty is one of the reasons the final scenes remain so powerful. Fact number 5, Monument Valley is used like emotional symbolism, not just scenery. John Ford had filmed in Monument Valley many times before, but in The Searchers, he used it differently. The landscape isn't just beautiful, it's isolating. Characters are constantly dwarfed by the vastness of the land, reinforcing the idea that the frontier is unforgiving and emotionally empty. The endless horizons mirror Ethan's obsession, making his journey feel endless and exhausting. Ford framed many shots to make Ethan appear small and distant, subtly reminding the audience that his mission has consumed his entire existence. Fact number 6, the famous doorway shot wasn't accidental. The opening and closing shots of the film framed through a doorway are among the most iconic images in cinema history. This wasn't just a visual flourish. The doorway represents civilization, family, and belonging. Ethan is always seen entering or exiting through it, but never staying inside. In the final shot, the door closes behind him, visually confirming that he has no place in the domestic world he helped protect. Ford was using pure visual storytelling, saying more with one image than pages of dialogue ever could. Fact number 7, John Wayne personally struggled with Ethan's racism. John Wayne understood that Ethan Edwards was not a typical hero, and he reportedly wrestled with how far to push the character's prejudice. Wayne was aware that audiences loved him and worried that portraying such open racism might permanently damage his image. Ford insisted that Ethan had to be this way for the story to work. Wayne eventually leaned into the discomfort, delivering one of the most complex performances of his career, even if it made audiences uneasy. Fact number 8. The film quietly challenges 1950s American values. In the 1950s, Hollywood rarely questioned American expansion or frontier mythology. The Searchers does exactly that. It shows settlers as vulnerable, fearful, and sometimes cruel. It portrays Native Americans not as faceless villains, but as people defending their land and culture. While the film still reflects its era's limitations, it quietly asks whether this civilizing mission of the West was truly noble, a radical idea for its time. Fact number 9. The Comanche were portrayed with unusual respect for the era. While many Native roles were still played by non-Native actors, Ford made a conscious effort to show Comanche culture with more depth than most Westerns of the time. Scar the Comanche chief is given motivation, history, and emotional reasoning, not just villainy. His grief mirrors Ethan's obsession, turning them into dark reflections of each other. This parallel suggests that hatred and revenge exist on both sides, a concept rarely explored so openly in 1950s cinema. Fact number 10. Ethan and Scar are basically the same character. One of the film's most subtle ideas is that Ethan Edwards and Scar are spiritual twins. Both men lost family to violence. Both dedicate their lives to revenge. Both become emotionally hollow in the process. The only difference is which side of the conflict they were born into. Ford uses this parallel to blur the line between hero and villain, forcing viewers to question who the story is really condemning. Fact number 11. The humor is intentionally uncomfortable. The Searchers includes moments of humor that feel oddly placed, awkward, even inappropriate. This was intentional. Ford often used humor to expose the absurdity and cruelty of frontier life. Laughing at uncomfortable moments forces the audience to reflect on their own reactions. It's not meant to lighten the story, it's meant to make you uneasy. Fact number 12. Natalie Wood's role was more symbolic than realistic. Natalie Wood only appears briefly as Debbie, but her character represents something much larger. Debbie symbolizes cultural conflict, lost innocence, and the consequences of violence. She's not just a kidnapped girl, she's the embodiment of everything Ethan refuses to accept. Her presence challenges Ethan's worldview simply by existing. Fact number 13. Time passes, but Ethan never changes. The story spans several years, but Ethan remains emotionally frozen. While other characters grow, settle down, and build families, Ethan stays obsessed with the past. This contrast reinforces the film's tragic core. Ethan survives, but he never truly lives. Ford subtly shows this by changing costumes, locations, and relationships, everything except Ethan himself. Fact number 14. The film's ending is one of the most misunderstood in cinema. Some viewers see the ending as hopeful because Debbie is saved. Others see it as tragic because Ethan walks away alone. Ford deliberately left it ambiguous. Ethan succeeds in his mission but loses his place in society. It's a victory that feels hollow, a commentary on the emotional cost of vengeance. Fact number 15. Martin is the moral counterweight to Ethan. Martin isn't just a sidekick, he's the film's conscience. As a character of mixed heritage, Martin exists between two worlds and offers a more compassionate perspective. His presence constantly challenges Ethan's hatred, providing the audience with an alternative path, one that Ethan refuses to take. Fact number 16. The music reinforces obsession, not adventure. The score doesn't glorify the journey. Instead, it emphasizes repetition and longing. Themes recur again and again, mirroring Ethan's inability to let go. Even the music feels trapped in a loop, reinforcing the film's emotional weight. Fact number 17. Ford used silence as a storytelling weapon. Long stretches of the film have minimal dialogue. Ford trusted visuals, expressions, and movement to carry meaning. Silence emphasizes isolation and emotional distance, making moments of dialogue feel heavier and more impactful. Fact number 18. The film influenced generations of filmmakers. Directors like Martin Scorsese, Steven Spielberg, George Lucas, and Christopher Nolan have all cited The Searchers as a major influence. Its themes, framing, and character complexity reshaped how Hollywood approached storytelling, especially in genre films. Fact number 19. The movie wasn't fully appreciated at first. When The Searchers was released, it received mixed reactions. Some critics found it too dark, too long, or morally confusing. It wasn't until decades later that the film was re-evaluated and recognized as one of the greatest American films ever made. Fact number 20: the search never really ends. The title The Searchers is plural for a reason. While Ethan's journey ends, the broader human search for belonging, understanding, and peace continues. The film suggests that some people are doomed to wander not because they fail, but because they cannot change. And that's what makes The Searchers so unforgettable. It's not just a Western about the Old West, it's a film about obsession, identity, and the cost of refusing to let go. Long after the gunshots fade and the journey ends, Ethan Edwards is still walking, still searching, and maybe that's the most honest ending John Ford could have given us. If you're into classic films, hidden history, and movies that were way more complicated than people realized at the time, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next breakdown. Because some movies aren't just watched once, they stay with you. And the best ones, they never stop asking questions. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.